Welcome to This Explainer, where we're going to take a rigid set of scientific instructions and turn them into a tactical mission briefing for baking the absolutely perfect, athletic recovery optimizing potato. Seriously, we're looking at exactly how manipulating plant cell biology and thermodynamics can completely transform your recovery fueling. Let's get right into it.
Okay, let's kick things off by comparing the culinary fallacies of the past with our new tactical baseline. For years, people have just accepted a totally subpar carbohydrate experience. The classic mistake? Wrapping a potato in foil. All that does is effectively boil it, leaving you with this sad, leathery skin and a dense, heavy interior. Yeah, we're throwing that right out the window. The protocol we're exploring today guarantees a shatteringly crisp skin on the outside and a highly bioavailable, fluffy matrix on the inside. It's a real game changer.
Here is our mission briefing agenda. We're laying out the precise chronological protocols to execute this operation. We've got 1. The carbohydrate payload, 2. Protocol alpha, 3. Protocol beta, 4. Protocol gamma, and finally 5. Protocol delta.
So, let's jump straight into Section 1, the carbohydrate payload, focusing on cultivar selection.
Listen, for this thermodynamic protocol to actually work, you absolutely must use the russet cultivar. Why? Well, it's because the russet possesses a very specific, exceptionally high amylose or starch to moisture ratio. This isn't just about taste, guys. This high-density carbohydrate payload is exactly what you want for fueling heavy, compound lifts. If you're grinding through a demanding push-pull legs training split, this is the exact raw material you need to maximize digestion and get that texture perfect for glycogen replenishment. Except no substitutes.
Once you have your payload, it's time for Section 2, Protocol Alpha, osmotic preparation. And a critical warning right off the bat, wrapping a tuber in foil is strictly forbidden because it traps moisture and ruins the skin.
Now let's dive right into this exact brine preparation. First things first, crank your oven up to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. Then execute these 3 steps to the letter. Number 1, dissolve 2 tablespoons of kosher salt into a half cup of water. Number 2, take a fork and aggressively puncture the potatoes 5 to 6 times. Really get in there. And number 3, roll those wet potatoes directly in the brine.
The science behind this brine is literally fascinating. By rolling the punctured potato in that saline solution, the salt penetrates deep down into those aggressive punctures. Then, once it hits that 450-degree oven, the water safely evaporates. So what's left? You're left with a perfectly seasoned, totally dehydrated crust. It's brilliant because you completely avoid that common trap of burning dry spices in a hot oven.
Now that we're prepped, we hit Section 3, Protocol Beta, high-heat gelatinization. Here we place the brine potato directly on a wire rack set inside a baking sheet.
Now when it comes to the bake itself, relying on time is a complete culinary fallacy. Sure, a tuber might take 45 to 60 minutes depending on how big it is, but honestly, you cannot trust the clock. You absolutely must use an instant read thermometer. Your target? A geometric center of exactly 205 degrees Fahrenheit or 96 degrees Celsius.
Hitting that precise 205-degree mark is non-negotiable. Reaching this temperature forces gelatinization. Now, what does that mean? It's a physical process where microscopic starch granules inside the potato cells absorb water, swell up, and ultimately burst. It's almost like popping a billion tiny starch balloons inside the potato. This exact biological mechanism is what ensures your complex carbohydrates transform from a dense, raw plant into a wonderfully fluffy, highly digestible matrix.
Now we need that exterior crunch, which brings us to Section 4, Protocol Gamma, the lipid crisp. Be warned, prematurely coating a raw potato in oil will tragically result in a tough, leathery skin, defeating our entire purpose.
Okay, the crucial point here is delayed application. The timeline goes like this. Start with the dry bake we just talked about. Once the core hits exactly 205 degrees Fahrenheit, take the tuber out of the oven. Only now do you brush that beautifully dehydrated exterior with a high-heat lipid. Olive oil, bacon fat, or duck fat, these are all excellent choices. Then pub it back into the 450-degree oven for exactly 10 additional minutes. This late-stage application is the secret sauce. It perfectly fries the skin to a shatteringly crisp finish.
All right, the bake is done. Welcome to Section 5, Protocol Delta, the steam purge.
This is our final, and honestly, most highly urgent, time-sensitive operation. Upon final removal from the oven, it is absolutely critical that you don't just let the potatoes sit there. You gotta move fast. Immediately use a knife to cut an X into the top. Then grab a towel to protect your hands. Pinch the ends and forcefully push the flesh up and out. You are intentionally venting the potato.
Like I said, speed is everything here. If you skip this purge, the internal steam stays trapped inside. And as the potato cools, even slightly, that trapped steam condenses right back into water. The very second that happens, your perfectly gelatinized starches are completely ruined. That beautiful, fluffy matrix collapses right back into a dense, gummy paste. So yeah, the purge, totally non-negotiable.
Finally, execution is nothing without absorption. To really make the most of this protocol, you should be consuming this dense carbohydrate load right alongside your strict 100 fluid ounce daily hydration baseline. Pairing the optimal carbohydrate matrix with adequate fluids is exactly how you ensure your body achieves optimal intramuscular water retention and vital cellular recovery after heavy training. It's the whole package.
To wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one absolutely critical question to think about before your next meal prep. Are you maximizing your recovery fueling with strict thermodynamic science, or are you still relying on culinary fallacies and settling for gummy paste?